Hello and welcome to this review of my Northgate OmniKey ULTRA. Northgate were a company that manufactured computers, but they're most well known for their OmniKey line of keyboards, which have a legendary reputation for build quality that rivaled IBM's similarly legendary Model M. Interestingly, the OmniKey was much more popular than the computers it was shipped with, so much so that people apparently bought these keyboards for use with other manufacturers' PCs. And perhaps as a result of this, the OmniKey outlived Northgate computers, as CVT kept making and selling rebranded versions of these even after Northgate had gone bankrupt. The various OmniKeys are generally agreed to be the finest Alps chassis ever made, with outstanding build quality, incredible attention to detail, and N-key rollover on all models. This model, the Ultra, was the top of the range model and comes with loads of extra features that I'll come to later. This one was made in 1992 in Taiwan, and I picked it up as part of a once-in-a-lifetime batch at the recycling center, which also included my industrial Model M, the BTC Keytronic and Syncan you saw recently, and one or two other boards I'll be showing in later reviews. I paid as little as £5 for the entire batch, and frankly I feel almost guilty. Originally, I couldn't get this keyboard to work properly. It would only work if I booted up the computer using another keyboard and then hot swapped it using a specific converter, and even then only sometimes, and only when it was set to XT mode. A professional from the University Electronic Workshop was nice enough to have a look at it for me, and he found one of the capacitors as connected had corroded through. So he very kindly replaced all the capacitors and reflowed all the solder joints too, some of which looked rather oxidized. And now it's working perfectly, so thanks again, Andy. Other than that, this keyboard was in a rather mixed condition when I found it. It appears to have seen very little use, but quite a bit of abuse. The keycaps are in excellent condition with no visible wear on them at all, and I hope that from the reflection of the light on the keycaps you can see that there's barely any shine to them. And the caps are not even that yellowed either. Furthermore, there was very little dust in it, and the metal mounting plate had almost no rust on it, which frequently happens on old keyboards with metal plates in them. It even came with the original cable, which is nice and not that common on keyboards with detachable cables. On the other hand, it was handled pretty badly. It must have been dropped at least twice, and pretty hard as well, because first of all, the num lock switch was broken. So I replaced it with a spare switch I had, and it's borrowing the numlock keycap from my NTC at the moment, which blends in rather well in my opinion. Furthermore, two of the corners show breakage on the plastic and the metal is slightly bent on them. Now, to illustrate how well built these are and how far it must have fallen, I can't bend this metal plate at all. It's really thick and tough, clearly a product built to last. The weight of this keyboard is similarly impressive. Almost 2.3 kilos, slightly heavier than even really old Model M's. The keycaps are nice too. It's double-shot ABS with nice colourful lettering on the modifier keys and on the escape key. I think it's the same manufacturer that made the caps on the NTC I took the numlock cap from, as well as virtually all old Focus keyboards. Here is the model sticker of the keyboards, and there are a couple of small extra stickers on it as well. The flip-out feet are coated in rubber so they don't slip on your table whether they're flipped out or folded in. Very thoughtful. And you can also see that thick back panel I was talking about earlier. I wasn't exaggerating, it really is tough beyond belief. Seriously, it's a motherfucking gong. I weighed it. The back panel on its own is more than 800 grams of pure steel. That's more than my frying pan. What the fuck? You could kill someone with just this back panel. Just to compare, the back panels on old IBM-made Model M's only weigh about half a kilo. It comes with long slit white Alps and they're in great condition. The key feels very nice, possibly because of the condition of the switches. These feel good and smooth, they're very nice to type on. And it has that classic Alps sound, which few other switch families could rival. This particular chassis makes them sound especially nice, by the way. If you'll remember my NTC review, which is also a metal brick with white Alps, I demonstrated the difference in sound between a metal keyboard and a plastic one. And in this OmniKey, they sound even better than in the NTC. Let me show you that real quick. In fact, they almost sound like blue Alps, which have a characteristic sound that's so thick it's almost like you're punching straight through the desk. They still don't sound quite as bassy though. Now for the extra features for which I had to use the manual, which fortunately you can simply find online. It has a very large bank of no less than 8 dip switches that allow you to customize all kinds of things. The first 3 toggle compatibility between 80 XT Northgate Amiga ATT and Tandy computers. This compatibility is in rather stark contrast to IBM's keyboards, which were really only made for the computer that particular model of keyboard came with. And it possibly explains why some people were using these keyboards on other manufacturers' PCs. The 4th switch does something, dedicated server something. The 5th allows you to swap control and caps lock, which by default is set to the control being in the caps lock space, the alt being on the control space, and the caps lock being on the alt space. If you flip that switch instead, it makes this the control button, that the alt button, and then the caps lock button as on model layouts. Northgate even included alternate caps lock and control keys as well as a keycap puller to alter the physical layout to match this as well. The 6th switch allows you to swap these 2 keys, the asterisk and backslash key. The 7th switch sets the layout to Dvorak or Dvorak, whatever way you pronounce it, of which you can choose several variants. And the 8th switch allows you to put on sticky keys, although nowadays you can also set that in Windows. Next, there's these 3 buttons which allow you to set even more things. The comma period lock button locks these 2 buttons so that they will always output a comma or a full stop regardless of whether you're pressing shift or not. Seriously guys, is this really necessary? Rate select allows you to program the repeat rate, repeat delay and keystroke validation time to 12 different settings as you can see in this table. And the SF select key allows you to set the special function keys here. Yeah, see, it's got 2 rows of function keys, the normal ones here on the left, and special function keys on the top there. Now note these special function keys aren't actually programmable function keys for macros like you could on a rare few keyboards. They can just be programmed to count as that key plus any modifier. For instance, if you press SF select and then shift, all the SF keys will trigger as that F key plus the shift key. It's also got a super weird print screen lock function that makes you press print screen twice before it registers, presumably to prevent accidental paper wastage back in the olden days when this button would print out your current screen. But it's really unnecessary now and you can't turn it off unlike all the other super anal things on this keyboard. The nav cluster is the biggest giveaway on this board and it's unique to this specific model. If you look more closely, it's essentially a copy of the numpad, except it's wired to the opposite functionality, so you can have 2 numpads, one of which outputs numbers and the other outputs nav commands. It takes a bit of getting used to the cross arrow key layout and having the delete key here rather than here where you usually find it. Frankly, I don't find it all that useful. I'd rather just have a normal TNAV. And in the middle, there's this unique Omni key, which supposedly does something special on a few programs, but I don't know what or on which programs. Just like on Apple keyboards, it's got an extra equals key on the numpad at the expense of having a large plus key, which is quite useful for Excel users like me. However, unlike Apple, who shifted the position of all these keys to make room for it, Northgate just stuck it below the plus key where it's very much at home. One thing where they kind of fucked up is the connector though. It has 3 ports, 2 ADB ones, one of them here and the other on the other side, and a PS2 port here, and the angled connector cable that comes with it goes into the latter. But the port is sunk too deeply into the chassis so the cable doesn't reach inside properly. Northgate did include cable retainers on either side, which are really necessary because otherwise it's pretty easy to accidentally unplug the keyboard when you move it around. Overall though, this keyboard is bloody great. The build quality is nothing short of stellar and it has a few useful extra functions on it. The key switches are excellent and a delight to both type on and listen to. My biggest gripes are the cable, which is non-standard and doesn't fit into the keyboard properly. Also, to be honest, it's not really a looker, is it? It's probably among my ugliest keyboards, in fact. But user-wise, it's outstanding and definitely recommended. Note that they're expensive though. They rarely go for less than £60 even for the basic models, and the rare gold badge version, which often, if not always, came with blue Alps instead of white ones, especially goes for a lot of dough. Which makes sense though, as it's probably the best Alps keyboard with probably the best Alps switches. That's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and here is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.